And we're on. I wish I gave you a countdown of, when we're on. But anyway, hello there. I'm Skell. Hello there. Quite fitting to say hello there. And yeah, enough of the babbling away. This is going to be my spoiler talk of Obi-Wan Kenobi Series. So if you haven't watched it, I wish I could say go watch it. That's a slight spoiler because I really didn't like it. And I have a whole list of reasons why I didn't like it, which we'll come to. But first, a little bit of preamble. I've been a fan of Star Wars for as long as I can remember. I generally can't remember a time in my life I wasn't a fan of Star Wars. I mean, I've had this R2-D2. It's one of the original ones for years and years and years. And it's that old and battered. It's just a relic. But I've had this for as long as I can remember. And I've loved Star Wars all the way through, from my teenage years to adulthood. It's always been there. And Star Wars to me is probably one of the most important fandoms and franchises that I know. From dorky little things like when I was at school, I took art as a topic, and instead of drawing still lifes of apples and of bananas and whatever else, I had to draw portraits. I was sat there doodling in the back of my sketchbook caricatures of Boba Fett and Jawas and C-3PO and R2-D2. I was doodling just random Star Wars characters. And there was a time in my life after the prequels where I pined for more Star Wars content. I longed for more Star Wars content, and I tried to buy anything of the expanded universe, from the Thrawn trilogy to the Heir to the Empire trilogy. There's just so much I was trying to find and cultivate to myself because, like I say, Star Wars was important to me. I keep on stressing the word was. We'll get to why later. So naturally, when Disney took over or bought out George Lucas for Star Wars, I was apprehensive, but I was really excited because I loved the MCU and what Disney and Marvel were doing with the MCU. So therefore, I kind of thought maybe that would be translated into the Star Wars franchise. And yes, I was full of hope. And glossing over the sequel trilogy quickly, I liked The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi happened, and I hated that. And then The Rise of Skywalker. I appreciate J.J. Abrams trying to wrap up everything, but it totally missed the mark for me. And there are so many things in that which I didn't like. But this isn't what this video is about. This video is about Obi-Wan Kenobi, my favourite character. So I'm taking this series a little bit personally, and so my critique of it has been a little bit harsher than normal. I'll accept that. That being said, shall we begin? Things I liked. Seeing Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi again after so long was a dream come true. Like I've said, Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favourite character, and seeing him again was great. But there's a but to that, which we'll come to in a bit. Some of the design of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series was great. It looked and felt like a Star Wars universe. But where were the aliens? On Tatooine, it felt so human. There was just no aliens really. I mean, if you go to the Mandalorian first episode, he walks into that cantina and it's just full of aliens and weird and wonderful creatures like Star Wars has always been. And yet in Obi-Wan Kenobi, they were pretty much all humans, and it just felt a bit hollow. What else have we got? The Vader introduction. When Vader came out for the first time out of his little shuttle, killing innocents as he walked along because he was taking none of it. He was on a mission because that's what Vader does. Vader is ruthless, Vader is evil. And it was great. But again, that whole scene felt a little bit hollow because the music, and I'll come to this later, the music of the Obi-Wan series was flat. It didn't do anything for me. Going back to the prequels, you got Battle of Heroes and Duel of Fates. You got iconic music. And in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, where was any of that? The whole Obi-Wan versus Vader interactions, it was good. It felt a bit canon breaking, and we'll come to it again later because I seriously have a massive long list of things to go through here. The whole Vader Obi-Wan Kenobi thing, the rematch of the Millennium, felt a bit stolen from Rebels, i.e. the Ahsoka Obi-Wan Kenobi match. So yes, that was pretty much all the things I liked about Obi-Wan Kenobi. The general design of it, seeing Ewan McGregor, seeing Vader, and that's about as far as I can go with things I liked about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So, let's talk about the things I didn't like. We have to get the elephant out of the room and talk about Reva. I didn't like Reva, and this has nothing to do with the actress who plays her. It's her character and how she was written. So let's look at her arc, and I need to read from my notes because I can't remember it all because it's such a ridiculous arc she had. So starting off, she's a 10-year-old girl and she survives Order 66 somehow. How did she do it? Who knows? You know, let's just gloss over that. She somehow survives being face to face with Anakin, i.e. Vader, at that point. That just totally breaks my mind as it is because Vader didn't leave any survivors, and I just don't understand how she survived facing him. For her to go on to then, in her logic, join the bad guys and do the one thing which she absolutely hates because she knows Vader is Anakin and she wants to get close to him. But slight sidebar here, it kind of later on revealed that Vader knew that Reva was like a duplicitous agent, which didn't make any sense because why would he have her hanging around if he knew she was going to turn on him? But, and also, Vader is absolutely ruthless in his mandate about anybody who knows that he's Anakin. He kills anybody on sight. I mean, there's a comic where he wipes out an entire shuttle full of stormtroopers because a captured Jedi says, "Oh, you are Anakin Skywalker," and he basically obliterates the whole stormtroopers and airlock, and he kills the Jedi in question because he hates the fact that he knows that anybody will know that he's Anakin. So anyway, Reva then does horrific things in the name of the dark side to get close to Vader. But then somehow she works out that Princess Leia is connected to Obi-Wan Kenobi, or that capturing Leia would draw out Obi-Wan Kenobi because she wants to get close to Obi-Wan Kenobi to draw out Vader. But again, that makes no sense because if she's an Inquisitor, surely she has access to Vader or Vader has access to her. But anyway, moving on. Where am I up to? Yeah. So she can read minds in one episode, but then she seems to not use that power again later. It's like a forgotten power, which is really convenient because in certain points in the episodes, if she could read minds, it would have come very handy. She then kills the Grand Inquisitor. Why? I mean, I get why, but how? The Grand Inquisitor is number one because he is the strongest, bestest Inquisitor. So that's kind of messed up. And also we know that the Grand Inquisitor has to survive. Because we know he's in Rebels later on in the timeline. So there is no tension at all in the fact that she killed him. Anyway, jumping ahead, she then gets to a point where she attempts to kill Vader and totally fails and is left for dead again. This is the second time Vader has left Reva for dead, which makes no sense. And glossing over that, she finds the communicator, which Bail Organa's left a conveniently accurate but garbled message about Luke. But he didn't say Luke, the boy. So then somehow she teleports from lying dead on the one planet to be semi-alive on Tatooine, hunting down a boy she doesn't know. For what reason? What is her motive? Who knows? But then she's at the point where she can kill Luke, i.e. the boy, and she has a change of heart. She realises killing children is bad. And then she just gets redemption. That's it, redeemed. You know, all the evil acts she's done, yeah, she's fine. She's just not killed Luke Skywalker. So yes, that's why I don't like Reva. Her character arc, it was poorly written, and yeah. So moving on, I said earlier, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favourite character, and what was his arc in this show? It's set 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, and he's depressed and mopey in a cave, cut off from the Force. I totally get him being cut off the Force. But why wasn't he training in meditating and hand-to-hand combat, or learning to fight, I don't know, with a gaffy stick, just some form of other weapon than a lightsaber? Why wasn't he not training to do the one thing he was tasked to do at the end of Revenge of the Sith, protect Luke Skywalker? Instead, he's just cutting meat up in a giant dead fish or dragon, whatever it was, and moping in a cave, occasionally looking out over Luke, but it felt very out of character for Obi-Wan Kenobi. But then he finds out that Leia's been kidnapped, and Bail tasks him to go rescue Leia. But then he just gets led round by Leia, and then gets his butt kicked, and then Tala comes along and leads him around, and then he surrenders again to get captured, to get surrendered again, to get captured, to surrender again, to get captured. And the whole plot of him being like, I've got to give up for the greater good, would have been kind of cool if it was earned, but it's just repetitive and boring. And yeah, and then by the end of the series, he's back on Tatooine, pretty much okay, all great, talking to Qui-Gon, which was nice, and we'll come to that again later. But none of his character arc felt like Obi-Wan Kenobi to me. Anywho, that's the kind of general gist of why I didn't like the characters or the lead characters in Obi-Wan Kenobi, because I just didn't like the way they were written. Now that's my own personal, opinion, which counts for very little, I guess, in the whole grand scheme of things, but we're talking about reasons I didn't like Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series. So, where are we? Oh, let's get to the meaty bits of each episode. So these are the notes I made pretty much either during or after watching each episode, which I've fleshed out a little bit for the purposes of this video. Again, it's not to do with the actors playing the roles, it's to do with the director and the writing of the scripts and the story, which I have major issues with. For starters, Leia's initial kidnapping, it was comical, it was ridiculous. A little 10-year-old kid waddling along trying to run away from 3 grown adults. It was ridiculous, and that's the least of my issues with the series. Then when Obi-Wan finally goes off-world, I know it's been 10 years since the whole Jedi purge and everything, but he leaves Tatooine looking like a Jedi with a lightsaber strapped to his belt, and it just felt a bit dumb. I mean, disguise yourself a little bit then. I remember when Kanan in Rebels had to dismantle and reassemble his lightsaber when moving around because he didn't want to get recognised as a Jedi. Moving on. Again, I'm going to say moving on a lot because there's a lot to get through. After Obi initially escapes from Reva and that, automated transport, why didn't Reva hunt down that transport? Why did she just stand there watching it fly off? But even if she couldn't track it, although she did kind of track it, no, she didn't, not that time. But when he was on the other planet to meet the contact, who then he freaks out because the contact isn't there. He walks to the point of meeting and the contact's not there. Whatever is very late, whatever they were just waiting to see if Obi-Wan Kenobi wasn't followed. There are so many reasons why that contact wasn't there. But no, he freaks out and decides to run off, and then Leia leads him to. Leia takes charge and leads him to this guy, and they go on this little road trip with this alien who's blatantly all pro-Empire. But then they pick up some stormtroopers. Surely after Reva had lost Obi-Wan Kenobi, surely she'd put out a galactic wanted message and then stormtroopers would recognise Obi-Wan Kenobi at the sight. But they didn't. But anyway, moving on. Obi-Wan Kenobi now has a secret sibling, or has a sibling, which I'm not totally against, but it just felt very forced. And I just felt this nasty feeling about Disney or the comics are now going to do this whole spin-off comic with Obi-Wan Kenobi's long forgotten, long lost brother. And then other stupid things in the episode, like they come to this laser fence and they can't get by, and the stormtroopers stop them, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, somebody comes badass, killing I think it's 7 or 8 stormtroopers, and then he has to try and turn off the laser fence, and he's there flicking switches and he can't do it, so he shoots it, deactivating the laser fence, and he walks through it. But then the camera pans out and you can see that he could have walked round either side of the laser fence. There was no reason for him to deactivate the laser fence, only to be stopped by 3 more stormtroopers, and then he surrenders. He's just handled 8 stormtroopers a minute ago, but these 3 stormtroopers, oh, we need to stop now. I need to be captured again for the plot to move forward. And then next episode, we get, no, not next episode, sorry, babbling. Vader gets hold of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that whole fight between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Vader, it was laughable. I know Obi-Wan Kenobi's not at, peak or way off his game, but Obi-Wan Kenobi appears and then Vader appears, and Obi-Wan Kenobi runs away, and then somehow Vader gets in front of him, and it's just the way it was directed or cut together, it just looked like a Benny Hill sketch. And then Vader finally gets hold of Obi-Wan Kenobi, tortures him, and then drags him through the fire, and it was quite horrific. Although, kind of only parts of Obi-Wan Kenobi was burnt. It was kind of very choice burning of Obi-Wan Kenobi. His clothes didn't seem to burn. And then Tala rescues him, but then Vader just sits there watching Obi-Wan Kenobi be carried away by the droid. I'm going to call droid Bob because I can't remember its name now. That's the other thing about the series. I barely remember names of the characters. But Vader just sat there watching Obi-Wan Kenobi quite slowly being carried away by Bob, when 30 seconds earlier he put out the fire with the Force. I mean, why didn't he use the Force to put out the fire again? Why didn't he just, Force grab Obi-Wan Kenobi or the droid or both and drag him through the fire to him? Why didn't he throw his lightsaber at the droid? There's so many ways Vader could have got Obi-Wan Kenobi back at that point, and I hear the excuses going around on the internet. Oh, Vader's just toying with his prey. Vader is ruthless. Vader has been hunting Obi-Wan Kenobi for 10 years. There's no reason or logical reason he would have given away Obi-Wan Kenobi at that point. And then the other laughable thing in that episode, so Tala and Leia are running through this secret hidden tunnel, and then Tala has to come back on herself to go rescue Obi-Wan Kenobi from the whole Vader scene. But then somehow Reva gets into the tunnel. She magically finds the tunnel. I guess you could say she force sensed it, but anyway, she finds the tunnel, then somehow gets past Leia and Tala to get to the other end of the tunnel, to then greet Leia, to capture Leia. How? We're going to get to the whole Reva teleporting later, but I swear she can teleport. So then next episode they have to get into the Inquisitor base to go rescue Leia. I will accept Tala's security clearance will still be valid because, MacGuffins. But then she sits down at a desk next to another guy at a desk, and she's sat there talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi on her communicator quite openly. Why is this guy sat next to him not gone, security, there's this woman talking to a random guy on a communicator. It felt dumb. And then a higher officer comes up and goes, "Who are you? You need to come with me." And then kind of leads Tala away to then Tala quite openly beat the crap out of this officer and then sit back down and resume their communications with Obi-Wan Kenobi, while this other guy still just sat there. Like I said, the writing and directing in this show was laughable and infuriating. The whole Reva Leia interrogation. What did Reva think a 10-year-old girl's going to know about the whole secret underground of Jedi smuggling and stuff? And it's implied that Reva's trying to use her mind-reading powers on Leia at that point, but then Leia, because she's so strong, but not knowingly strong in the Force at that point, resist the mind probe. Well, surely Reva being an Inquisitor, trying to hunt down Force sensitive, so that would go, wait a minute, you're Force sensitive, and then take greater interest in on Leia. Instead, she just sends Leia off to be tortured in the torture chair for Obi-Wan Kenobi to rescue her, which, again, just feels a bit laughable. But anyways, then we get to the scene which probably nearly killed the series for me. You got Tala, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Leia strolling out through a fully guarded, full of troops, full of free Inquisitors, through the loading dock with Leia under his trench coat, which he magically finds his trench coat. But that whole scene, it was, you see the whole, like, you know, two short people standing on each of his shoulders to make look one. It just looked so bad. To fix that scene, they could just do something so simple. Hollow out a droid, put Leia in the droid, trundle her out, you know, in the droid, rather than under trench coat. There's so many things which I'm going to mention, which I was going to try and counter argue, like I just said, what they could do differently to make it better. But I don't have the time to fill in my own headcanon and whatnot to do it. But somehow, then the snowspeeders from Hoth, or that class of ship, come swooping down. Why aren't the TIE fighters we see hanging from the ceiling deployed? More to the point is, how do the troops get into them TIE fighters which are hanging from the ceiling? But that's a whole different headcanon we need to fill in. But they come in and Reva deflects blasts from the snowspeeder, which is fine, you know, she's evil, she's using force, fair enough. But there's 3 Inquisitors, you know, including her, and somehow Obi-Wan, Tala and Leia fit into a 2-seater ship. How does, you know, 3 adults and 1 small child fit into a 2-seater ship? And then Wade died. God bless Wade. We knew him for 30 seconds, but we're all meant to feel bad that he died. And plus the fact that them speeders now hover, that would be a game changer in the whole Hoth battle, so that kind of totally ruins the whole Hoth battle and the Empire Strikes Back, because if they could hover, why don't we just hover behind the AT-ATs, blasting weak points? But anyway, this whole series just seems to like trashing future and past films. Then Reva's obviously failed Vader at this point for letting Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's choking her out, but then because she mumbles, I put a tracer on them, he lets her live. Vader has killed people for a lot less, and yet, because it's Reva, we'll give her a pass. You know, well, you're obviously smarter than I thought. Then we got to episode 5. We're nearly there. The opening flashback of episode 5 gave me hope, although the CGI de-aging of Hayden Christensen, if there was any, was laughable. I don't know why they didn't do a better job of that, and I've seen another version on YouTube which a fan has done, which is infinitely better. So what if a fan with no budget and, you know, very, I guess, low-key technology can do a better job than Disney with all their millions of pounds which are throwing at these episodes, or dollars? They just didn't care. This is the impression I got from the series, that the creators just didn't care. They wanted to just churn out this Obi-Wan Kenobi series just for people to consume and go, well, hey, look, we've done an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. But anyway, evil Lola, excuse me, evil Lola trips the blast door so the ships can't escape. But did Obi-Wan Kenobi forget they can use force again? Why didn't Obi-Wan Kenobi just like force open the blast doors? Why was there not a manual override for these blast doors? Why was the circuitry in a place that only Leia could get to somehow repair, even though Leia has no, as far as we know, no training in repairing blast doors and stuff? So the whole like having to put Leia around it was only to give Leia something to do, but it was just laughable. I mean, why wasn't there access for, like I say, an adult or a droid, or like I say, manual override? There was just so many reasons why that blast door scene was just ridiculous. But anyway, cut to the outside of the base of the other blast door, Reva's landed with a bunch of troops, including the Inquisitor troops, which is supposed to be better than normal stormtroopers, and they're blasting the blast door. They're fully pelting it, trying to get through. And I'm sat there watching, why are they wasting time? Why don't Reva just cut the door open? And then sure enough, a couple of minutes later when Obi-Wan Kenobi's on the side door, she does cut the door open. Again, writing and directing, why didn't they just... It just annoyed me. Then Obi-Wan Kenobi does the vulnerable thing again, surrenders to Reva again. We're getting a pattern here. Obi-Wan surrenders all the time. But then they have a brief conversation, and then Reva sends Obi-Wan Kenobi back into the place he's just come from with 2 stormtroopers, which blatantly means Obi-Wan Kenobi's going to escape again. Again, she's failed Vader. Just why? Also, talking about the whole rebel base, the resistant leader, Roto Rakan, I can't remember his name, said there wasn't a spare ship for Obi-Wan Kenobi and Leia to escape on. And yet later on we find out there's 3 ships they could have used, minimum. There could have been potentially a 4th, shuttle on that initial first ship. But yeah, apparently they couldn't escape. So, getting to these ships, before Vader lands and makes his big entrance, why wasn't all the refugees or whatever they were, the survivors that wanted people, being rebels wanted to escape, why weren't they on the ship/ships ready to escape? Why were they just milling around? If every second counted, why wasn't they on board the ships ready to go as soon as the blast doors opened? Like I say, if every second counted, it just made no sense. Vader grabbing the ship was great. It was amazing. And him yanking it down, ripping it to shreds, very, Force Unleashed, very cool. But this is kind of destroying later films. Why didn't he do it at the end of Rogue One? When they were escaping. You could argue the, of Rogue One ship, I can't remember Taunton 5 is it? Was bigger engine, but then this ship had quite big engines. Why doesn't he do it in the Empire Strikes by grabbing hold of Millennium Falcon? Why didn't he even do it in the Death Star's trench when he's chasing Luke down? If he can use the Force to grab ships, because Vader's that powerful, why isn't he? It totally ruins their moments later on in the films. But also, why didn't he sense there was a second ship in that dock, And more importantly, okay, so he rips down the first ship, rips it to shreds, and the second one starts blasting off. Why did he just stand there pretty much going, bye? Why did he grab hold of the force of that one? Why did he just let that second ship go? Again, people are arguing, oh, he's just toying with his prey. No, he's not. If he was just toying with his prey, he wouldn't have grabbed down the first ship. And also that whole scene reminded me of the whole Chewbacca death scene in Rise of Skywalker, which isn't really a great thing to remind me of, because less said about the sequel trilogy the better. Then we get to the Reva Vader fight, which, yes, the whole Reva Vader fight was pretty cool. Vader was taking none of it. He didn't even draw his own lightsaber. He took Reva down quite easily, which was acceptable. But this is where we find out that Vader always knew that Reva was going to turn on him, but then why would Vader even give her the chance? There's just, the way Vader was written felt a bit like Vader was a bit dumb. It was just lazy writing to me, and this is where we get to the scene which killed the series for me. So at the end of episode 5, Reva is left impaled with the lightsaber again, somehow left for dead and surviving a second attempt of Vader on her life. Somehow, Vader would have killed her outright. I'm sorry, Vader would have done. But anyway, she survives. She's bleeding, well, not bleeding out, because my friend says, oh, wound has been cauterized. Okay, so her heart has been ruptured by a lightsaber. Her spine's probably been severed by a lightsaber. She's in a bad way. Okay, she might not be bleeding out, but she's in a bad way on this planet where the rebel base is. Then episode 6 starts, and somehow she's on Tatooine. Just like that. She teleported. Or she had to find another ship, so therefore there was another ship Obi-Wan and Leia could have used. Flown to Tatooine, which, was a distance away. You're not saying Tatooine and this planet were side by side. Space is big, and it's been shown in Star Wars that they need hyperspace, they need time to travel from planet to planet. But somehow Reva's on Tatooine. So, okay, we could just maybe allow that, they just skip some time, they time jumped. But then we cut to Obi-Wan Kenobi in the escaping ship, laughably trying to dodge Vader's bestest ship, the Star Destroyer. And it's laughable how the ship's dodging. It looked like something out of Spaceballs. Which, if it was in Spaceballs, it'd been funny, it'd been cool. But this was Star Wars, and so either Reva teleported, or in the entire time it took Reva to get to Tatooine, Obi-Wan Kenobi and the survivors of the rebels are dodging turbo laser fire for Vader to suddenly go turn on, increase firepower. Why weren't they firing at full firepower in the first place? And also talking about, alternating power levels, the rebel leader says to Obi-Wan Kenobi, says quite loudly, divert all power to rear shields. Why weren't the rear shields at full power if they're being attacked from behind all along? And conveniently the hyperdrive's down, so they can't escape. Why didn't Vader launch, TIE fighters or any other form of ship after this little ship? Instead, we got another Last Jedi plot chase sequence in space, which made no sense at all. Also, we've seen Vader can grab ships with the Force. Why didn't he grab hold of the ship with the Force and hold it in place? But anyway, Obi-Wan Kenobi decides to do the honourable thing again. Surrender again. On a third ship. Again, like I said earlier, why didn't him and Leia use that third ship to, get by? So anyway, this is where it gets laughable as well. So Obi-Wan Kenobi splits from the escaping refugees. Vader, on a ship full of little ships, troops transport ships, his own, I bet odds on his own TIE fighter is on there. He diverts all his forces after Obi-Wan Kenobi. Why didn't he just get into his own TIE fighter or the transport ship he got into, go after Obi-Wan Kenobi while sending the Inquisitor after the other people? You want to capture this Jedi path so badly. So, fair enough, he sends all his troops, all his assets, after Obi-Wan Kenobi at this planet which is conveniently next to them. But whatever, space is huge, but hey, these planets are close together. There's also a line in that whole scene where Obi-Wan turns to Leia and says, "Leia, you are the future," which felt a bit on the nose. I know Leia's important and Leia's a badass character in the future, but it just felt very on the nose, and I don't know, it just felt a bit odd. We then cut back to Tatooine, where Beru and Owen have a conversation about the fact that they're being hunted, and Beru convinces Owen to stay put, even though they know that they're getting hunted. If you're being hunted by somebody, surely the first place they're going to look for you is where you live. So logically, if you're being hunted, the last place you probably want to be is where you live. But no, somehow Beru convinces Owen to stay put. Fair enough. Home ground advantage. But they just pretty much sit there waiting for Reva to come. I'm not saying they want to go to Kevin McAllister, Home Alone styley, setting up, cans of paint everywhere, although seeing Reva smacked in the head with a can of paint would have been hilarious and probably saved the show for me. But they just sat there waiting for Reva to come. And it just feels like a stupid decision. They've been tasked to protect Luke, and they're just going, we're going to wait for the danger to come. I'm not going to do anything in preparation, we're just going to wait for the danger to come and kill us. This is a Sith, well not a Sith Lord, a dark side user who can use Force, who's got a lightsaber, who's been trained to fight and kill. And these are two farmers with two blaster rifles, or one blaster rifle and a blaster pistol. The odds are definitely not against them. They needed something extra. Hell, even if they just retreated to Obi's cave, there's so much they should have done in that situation, but they didn't, because the writers decided they just didn't care. Then we get to the rematch of the century, and I need a sip of my drink for this one. The rematch of the century. Yes, the lightsaber fight was pretty cool, but Obi-Wan Kenobi suddenly, full-powered Obi-Wan Kenobi, or nearest damn it. But it just felt flat. The whole fight scene felt flat. And then every so often they kept cutting off to the whole Reva plot arc, which felt annoying as hell. It took the tension out of the lightsaber fight. It was like, oh, quick, let's jump to Reva. It just felt very bad. And there was some choreography in that lightsaber fight which felt bad. I don't know where it happened exactly, but there's a bit where Obi-Wan Kenobi's got his lightsaber and he passes it behind his back, which I've done some swordplay in my time. I've done a little bit of training, and one thing you don't do is remove your weapon behind your back, because that leaves you open for attack. And it's just, this is Vader he's against. You don't give Vader an opening like that. And also somehow in the previous fight, Obi-Wan Kenobi was being dragged around like using force, and I appreciate Obi-Wan Kenobi's strong in force, but if they just addressed the fact that they were slightly on better, it just was lazy writing. That Obi-Wan Kenobi can somehow resist Vader now. They should have just sent, there was a missing scene or a line of dialogue there. But moving on, we get to the bit where Obi-Wan Kenobi is buried by rocks, which, yeah, fair enough. He's using the force to hold the rocks back. And then what gives him the mojo? It wasn't a pep talk from Qui-Gon like I'd hoped. It was him thinking of Leia. And yes, there was a couple of flashes of Luke, but it was mainly that he was thinking of Leia. And, he bursts out the rocks and he chases down Vader, and, he goes all ape at Vader. And that lightsaber fight, like I say, it was pretty good, but like I said, some of the choreography, he kept ducking and rolling again. It just felt, I don't know, it looked like a video game. It's like I've been doing in Fallen Order. Duck and roll and attack and duck and roll, and it just felt off. And also there was no Duel of Fates. The music in that whole fight scene felt very lacking, which I'll come to in my little summary at the end. But then Vader's Obi-Wan Kenobi just big epic moment. He lunges and hacks off Vader's helmet, and it was cool. But then I sat there thinking, wait, I've seen this before. Ahsoka did this in Rebels, and then pretty much beat for beat, what happens next is from Rebels. The writers, to me, were that lazy they couldn't come up with their own plot or story, and they just stole it from a better thing, Rebels. And yes, it was kind of cool seeing Vader, modulating between Vader and Anakin's voice, and seeing Hayden's face kind of disfigured behind the mask. But again, it just felt like it was stolen from Rebels, and I didn't feel any emotional weight to it. Where in Rebels, I felt very emotional about the whole Ahsoka versus Anakin. And then we get to another scene, which this scene killed Star Wars for me. It killed the Obi-Wan Kenobi series for me. It killed Obi-Wan Kenobi for me. This moment in Star Wars history, it's unforgivable. The writers wrote themselves into a corner. Obi-Wan Kenobi is now again in a position to kill Vader. So, flashback to Revenge of the Sith. He defeats Anakin, leaves him for dead. I understand that. It's raw, a moment, and he thought the lava was going to take him. He didn't expect Anakin to survive. He couldn't kill his brother. I totally understand that. I totally get that. Fast forward to this moment. Obi-Wan Kenobi's in a position to kill Vader. And I know narratively he can't, because Vader obviously is the big bad in the later films and whatnot. You can't kill Vader at this moment in time. But thinking about it as a narrative or a story point of view, if you're just watching it, from Phantom Menace leading up to this moment, the fact that Obi-Wan doesn't kill Vader at this point is unforgivable. It is absolutely unforgivable, because now the blood of millions of people and the pain of millions of people is on Obi-Wan Kenobi's hands. The fact that he let the biggest, baddest, most evil person next to the Emperor, survive, and he just walks away. Now, you could fix this scene. There could have been like kind of, I don't know, Vader could have reinforcements come swooping into which overwhelmed Obi-Wan Kenobi, so Obi-Wan Kenobi couldn't finish him off. But no, Obi-Wan Kenobi just walks off, leaves him. And I know people are saying, oh, he couldn't kill his friend again, he couldn't kill his brother again. But in that moment, Obi-Wan Kenobi admits that, oh, then my friend is truly dead. You know, so kill him. You know, end Vader's misery, Anakin's misery. End him. It just... I'd like to think if I was turning into the biggest evilest dick on the planet or the galaxy, my friends would put me out of misery and, you know, finish me off. But no. Moving on from that scene, because like I say, that scene killed Star Wars for me. Obi-Wan Kenobi senses Luke's in danger because Reva's got Luke, you know, at her mercy. Ugh, I need another drink. Obi-Wan Kenobi uses a hyperdrive to blast off to Tatooine. So this ship had a hyperdrive all along. So why didn't they try and transfer that into the other transport ship? It seemed convenient. But anyway, so while Luke's being chased by Reva, you're not telling me he didn't look behind him and see the mad woman with a lightsaber chasing after him. So therefore, Luke most certainly saw a lightsaber ignited, and yet later fast on for the New Hope, Luke, what's this? I've never seen a lightsaber before. Then Reva lets Luke live because she has a change of heart. Because she realises killing is bad. She's probably killed countless of children. She's pickled a youngling. You see it in the base. You know, she's got... Yet all of a sudden she has a change of heart. Just like that. There's no hint of it. No, you know, underlying tones of that. You know, she's been trying to fight the darkness. And then she carries Luke back to Obi-Wan Kenobi, Owen and Bar. And this is another laughable script moment, which is ridiculously, really, really, really bad. So you got Owen and Beru yelling, Luke, Luke, obviously lost him, obviously looking for him. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi comes up and goes, what did he say? Oh, what did he say? I thought I wrote it down. Oh yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi runs up and goes, where is he? Well, if they knew where he was, they wouldn't be calling out for him, would they? You know, it's like we're not standing outside while he's asleep inside going, you know, Luke, Luke. It's just the script needed polishing. It was just a dumb script moment. I wanted Owen to turn around and say to Obi-Wan Kenobi, would I be standing out here yelling for my boy if I knew where he was, you idiot Jedi? And then Reva carries back Luke because she saved Luke and, you know, lays him down because she's had an unwarranted, change of heart. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi lets Reva live, despite the fact that she's to this point been totally evil, killing Jedi innocents, maiming innocents, you know, hands cutting off, and yet Reva knows for some strange reason that or the boy is important, that Leia is important, and yet fast forward, the moment Darth Maul in Rebels mentions the boy or somebody else, Obi-Wan Kenobi kills him pretty much on the spot. But no, Obi-Wan Kenobi, because it's Reva, has to let Reva live to go on to her spin-off series, obviously. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi leaves the planet again to go see Leia one last time, which, rewind a bit, he takes Lola, the droid, to the Vader fight. For what reason? No reason other than this reason, for him to have to return Lola to Leia at this point. And the whole goodbye scene between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Leia felt a bit creepy. You know, it was like, we must keep it a secret, and you won't be 10 years old or forever. And it just felt so cringe and ugh. Then we got a couple of scenes which I kind of liked. We finally got a hello there when he goes to meet Luke. But that scene was kind of bad and canon breaking, because Obi-Wan Kenobi pretty much dressed as full Jedi with his lightsaber swinging from his belt again, and yet later on Luke knows nothing about lightsabers. I don't know, it just... And then we finally got to the Qui-Gon, Force Ghost just randomly stood in the desert for, Obi-Wan Kenobi stumble across. I feel like this scene might have been one which they added in, like kind of during the airing of previous episodes when everybody was slamming the episodes. It just felt, I don't know, the whole Obi-Wan meeting the Qui-Gon Force Ghost scene just didn't feel earned at all. There was just no build up to it. It was just like, oh yeah, it took you long enough. And it's just like, it just felt forced, and I don't know, but it didn't work for me. And that's pretty much when the series ends. And yes, that was my raw, harsh thoughts and feelings about the show. There was just so many plot errors and holes and canon breaking things, and it just... The series felt hollow. The music was very lacking. I saw about an hour ago somebody's re-scored the whole Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi fight with the Duel of Fates soundtrack. Not Duel of Fates, Duel of Heroes. And it sounds so much better than what we got in the series. And the visuals were kind of cool, but Tatooine just felt very clean. All the sets felt very clean. And yet if you watch the original series, the original New Hope, everything looks very rough and burnt out and rough and ready, and I don't know, it just felt very polished. And like I say, my biggest issue was because the whole script could have done a lot of polishing, the characters need a lot of development, and I've actually written my own two little synopsises of a potential 2 series which interject concerning Riva and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I'll probably do in another video, because I'm not being big-headed, I'm not a professional author, or, I'm not saying I know the ins and outs of everything about Star Wars, but my 2 synopses of the series I've got planned, or what I think they should have done, are infinitely better than what we got. Oh, talking about the whole directing and the whole lacking of music and stuff, style and whatnot, the shaky cam. My God, that was giving me nauseous. It was so bad. The shaky cam, zoom in, zoom out. It was just, it didn't feel very Star Wars. It felt very, I don't know. It just didn't work for me. And the series in itself was dark, so dark. You couldn't hardly see anything in some of the scenes, and it just felt very dark. And I don't know. I've not been very articulate in the way I've been putting things across in this video, I know. So I think everybody should go check out a YouTuber called The Little Platoon. He put out a video either yesterday or today, I can't remember. He's put a video out. He's basically gone over a lot of the issues I've gone over, but he's probably gone and explained it a lot more articulately than I have. And like I say, in closing, if you enjoyed the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I envy you, because I really wanted to love it. I wanted to love it so much because, like I say, Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favourite character. But I didn't. And it breaks my heart that I didn't. And Star Wars was very important to me, but right now I feel very disconnected from it, and I don't feel like I want to watch anymore. It's become the new Doctor Who for me. Doctor Who I used to love and loved to bits, and yet now, even Doctor Who, it's kind of eh. And I guess that's it. Nearly an hour of me pining and whining about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I'd like to know in the comments or an inbox message if you agree or disagree with anything I've said. And yeah, I guess that's it. And yeah, see you around, guys. Be safe, be kind, and may the force be with you always. Bye.